Lost and Found. Trash stared at Torchy's desk, one corner of his mouth still turned up in a grin. Torchy's notebook rose slowly and gracefully into the air. Then it opened and the pages started to turn one by one. 3 pencils floated up to join the book, each drifting in a different pattern. All 3 pencils moved to the paper and began drawing. My jaw dropped as I watched. The demonstration only lasted for about 20 seconds. Then the notebook shot straight up, slamming into the ceiling so hard that little chips of paint dropped down. The pencils spun across the room. 2 of them bounced off the wall, while a third stuck point first, quivering in the plaster. Everything else ended up on the floor. Oops, Trash said. Still a little bit rough at all of this. I guess I need more practice. Well, looks like you've been practicing a lot, I said. This went for beyond just throwing stuff. Trash shrugged and grinned. So you think we can do it? Flinch asked me. Do you really think that we can beat Bloodbath? Sure, we'll figure something out. I realized that the others were looking towards me as the leader. That was a mistake, but I'd step aside as soon as I figured out who could really take charge. We have less than a week. The inspection is on Friday. The rest of the day passed quietly. We spent most of our time in the room. With all of us urging him to find out what he could, Cheater looked for a way to get close to Bloodbath, but he didn't come up with anything. Trash worked so hard on his talents that he reminded me of a warrior training for combat. Torchy practiced his fire control. Flinch killed time describing various ways he could use his cast to rearrange Bloodbath's face. Lucky didn't say much, but he did wander into the halls for a while, usually returning with an object or 2 that he'd found. I watched the 5 of them and wished that I was really part of the group. Sunday afternoon, when Lucky didn't come to the room, I went down the hall to see him. What's up? I asked. He was sitting on his bed, staring at something. I raised his hand to show me what he had. Oh no. I took the wallet from him and flipped it open. My gut tightened as I recognized the picture on the driver's license. I didn't even have to read the name. Where did you get this? I asked, handing it back to him. I found it on the steps, he said. I remember how Lucky had gone out while we were waiting for Flinch to come back from the hospital. The wallet must have fallen from Mr. Briggs' pocket when he was kneeling down to help Flinch. You have to return it, I said as I handed it back to him. Lucky shook his head. They'll nail me, he said, or throw me in jail. I guess he figured there was something he hadn't... I'd figured that there was something he hadn't told us about his power. You hear stuff, right? That's how you find things? Oh, I'm not crazy, Lucky said. I never said that you were. Tell me about it. Do you hear the things that you find? Lucky nodded. Lost objects, mostly. Sometimes hidden things, too. They whisper to me. If I pick them up, the voices stop. If I don't, they get louder. Well, just put the wallet where he'll find it, I said. Lucky shook his head. If I do that, the voices will drive me crazy. Once I pick something up, I can't put it back or toss it away. I've tried. When I do, it starts screaming at me. All I can do is keep it or give it to someone. Give it to me. I held my hand out. You're going to give it back to Mr. Briggs? He asked. Yeah, I'll take care of it. I took the wallet from him and put it in my pocket. I figure I could slip it in Mr. Briggs' desk or I could toss it in the garbage. Either way, I didn't owe Mr. Briggs anything. Either way, Lucky would be in the clear. Thanks, Lucky said. We sat and talked. Mostly Lucky talked and I listened. He was terrified of being locked up. That's why he never told anyone about the voices. At least now he knew he wasn't crazy. The bell rang for dinner. Right after we got to our table, Principal Davis walked in. Your attention, please, he said. I've just been informed that at some point this weekend a wallet was stolen from Mr. Briggs. This sort of behavior will not be tolerated at Edgeview. Fortunately, I have a very good idea who the culprit is. It would be best if he returned the wallet immediately. I thought about dropping the wallet on the floor. That wouldn't work. It would be right next to us. I could tell them that I'd found it, but then they'd asked why I hadn't returned it before. Before I could figure out what to do, Principal Davis came over to Lucky and said, Very well, Dominic. It looks like you want to do this the hard way. Come with me, please. Perhaps we need to arrange for you to spend some time in the company of other criminals. But Lucky spread his hands in a display of innocence. Come with me now, please, Principal Davis said. He grabbed Lucky's arm and pulled him from his chair. Lucky looked at me, eyes pleading. I stood, planning to shout, Wait! But the words caught in my throat. I didn't want to switch places with Lucky. I didn't want Principal Davis dragging me off. Oh, he's dead, Cheater said. Even his dad won't get him off this time. No, I headed out of the cafeteria. Whatever else I'd done wrong, I wasn't going to add this to my list, but I couldn't face Principal Davis. I ran up the stairs, hoping Mr. Briggs was still on duty. "Martin," he said when he answered my knock, "this is getting to be a tradition. I hope you aren't here to tell me about another injury." "You dropped this on Friday," I said, holding out the wallet. "Principal Davis thinks Dominic stole it, but he didn't." Mr. Briggs took the wallet from me. Neither of us spoke. I waited for him to say something. He just looked at me. "I didn't steal it either," I said. He didn't answer. "Okay, I could play that game too." I stared back. Sooner or later he'd have to say something. Finally he spoke. "How would you like me to treat you, Martin?" "What?" That took me by surprise. He put the wallet in his pocket. "I don't have a clue. Not a clue. It's like you're waving me closer with one hand and slashing a knife with the other. I believe you didn't take the wallet. Beyond that, I don't know what to think." I moved a step away from him. "Well, I'd better rescue your friend from Principal Davis." He closed the door and walked down the hall. "How would you like me to treat you?" What kind of a question was that? "I don't want to be treated like anything," I shouted, but he was gone by then. I went back to the cafeteria. Before the meal was over, Lucky came in. "You took your time," he said. "Sorry." "Don't worry about it. If I'd been on your spot, I probably would have left town." "So we're cool?" I asked. Lucky nodded. "I can't blame you for freezing." "Will someone tell me what's going on?" Torchy asked. We filled him in and then headed up to the room. When classes started Monday morning, it was easy to tell that something was happening. The teachers were all nervous. The funny thing was that they were all nervous in different ways. Mr. Langhorne got even angrier and shouted even more than before. I thought he was going to break something inside his head the way that he was yelling at us. I could just imagine his head flying apart like a watermelon with a stick of dynamite inside it. Miss Nomad, impossible as it may seem, got even more disgustingly nice, like she was hoping to soften us up. Mr. Briggs just acted kind of distracted. It was also obvious that Bloodbath and his gang were planning to cause trouble, in a way that was actually good because they spent less time than usual terrorizing the rest of us. It looked like they were saving their energy for something grander. There was only one incident before the inspection, but it was a whopper.